Hey guys, it's been a while since I've done a video on COVID, but there's just so much happening over the last couple of months that I think it's important I cover a few topics in this video. Firstly, the Delta variant. Secondly, I want to cover the need for booster shots. Thirdly, I want to cover masking mandates. And finally, different countries' approaches to reopening. I'm going to try to use the best data I have available to cover these topics. First, let's start with the Delta variant, which was originally discovered in India. Since then, we now have data to show that this variant has much higher transmissibility than the original variant, and also has a higher case fatality rate, and also has more resistance to vaccinations. This has totally changed the way we need to react to this coronavirus pandemic. One modeling study estimated the R0 or infectivity of the Delta strain to be 6, which is double the original strain. And while this doesn't seem like much, this has huge implications for the number of cases we can expect to see. You can use models to estimate the number of cases that are going to happen in a population within a few weeks. And one simulation I ran showed that with the original variant, you might have 4,000 cases, but with the Delta variant, you're going to have 160,000 cases, which is 40 times as much. So this is completely a game changer. Regarding case fatality rates, I've seen numbers that suggest that the risk of death is double with this variant, which is obviously concerning in itself. And also regarding vaccine resistance, there's a study from the CDC that came out of Massachusetts on 500 people that got COVID, 90% with the Delta variant. And 74% of the patients in this study had been vaccinated. And we've even seen patients hospitalized after being vaccinated, 1 with 2 doses of Pfizer and 3 with 1 dose of Johnson & Johnson vaccine. So this is very concerning in itself, and we definitely should be worried about the Delta variant. Now this has huge implications for whether we can achieve herd immunity or not, because using an R0 value of 6 and a vaccine efficacy of 85%, we now see that it's actually impossible to achieve herd immunity because of the Delta variant. So definitely a sobering thought. Regarding booster shots, we've seen Pfizer advocate the need for booster shots in the future for vaccination against COVID. They say they have data that suggests vaccine efficacy is decreased from 95% to about 85% after 6 months of getting the 2 shots. And they also claim hospitalization efficacy at preventing hospitalization is decreased from 100% to 90% after about 6 months. Haven't seen the raw data on this yet, but Pfizer intends to report its data to the FDA in August, so we might see the FDA make a decision on booster shots then. But for now, we've seen Israel make a move and recommend a 3rd dose or booster shot for people aged over 60. And we've seen that a 3rd dose definitely helps those that are immunocompromised. So definitely something to pay attention to in the future. I personally would recommend that we get everyone in the world have access to 2 doses of an effective vaccine before we start giving booster shots to people, because there's still a lot of people around the world that just don't have access to an effective vaccine. Regarding masking mandates, we've seen CDC do a little backflip on this topic. Originally, vaccinated persons were allowed to go out without masks, but now, given the rise of the Delta variant, we've seen data that even vaccinated persons are equally likely to transmit in some cases as people that have not been vaccinated. So the CDC now recommends even vaccinated persons, when they're going out in high-risk areas or in areas that have high case burdens of coronavirus, that they stay masked So I would encourage everyone to continue to wear masks outside in public, whether you are vaccinated or not. Finally, let's cover reopening strategies. We've seen a wide variety of strategies from different countries in terms of how they approach this, and this has largely got to do with the case burdens that we see in each country. Places like the UK, the US, Saudi Arabia being pretty aggressive towards opening up travel to vaccinated tourists from certain countries, whereas we've seen countries like Australia with low coronavirus burdens be a much more restrictive. For example, for Australia, they've set vaccination targets for the population before returning travelers or tourists are allowed to enter without quarantine. For example, at 70%, they're increasing the number of returning travelers that can return home once they're vaccinated, and at 80%, they're going to reopen the country to a much higher degree. There's no right answer in terms of how countries approach this issue. What I've seen, it's largely an economic and political decision rather than based on public health. I would just advocate that countries use a logical and equitable and humane approach to this, because what we're seeing now doesn't seem very fair to a lot of people. So that's it for today's video. Send me any questions that you have regarding these topics or anything you want me to cover in more detail in the future, and make sure you share with your friends and family. Cheers.